Have you ever wondered what would happen if we did not have access to natural gas? That's why at TGI we bring to you natural gas, energy that moves the country and bolsters development and productivity. During 2024, our purpose materialized in every one of the actions that we put in place. We are certain that sustainability is important to move into the future. This was our road during 2024. Our commitment with the planet. We optimize the resources, natural resources, contributing to reduction of waste and protecting the environment. Our commitment with the people, the energy of natural gas transformed the lives of 6,800 people through social projects. Our commitment with the economic deployment and governance. We seek to develop economic value for the stockholders. All of this with a team of over 420 people, highly committed, that work with the conviction that natural gas is the energy of the present and future. We have a clear commitment. We want to expand our infrastructure to guarantee the supply of natural gas to every corner of the country. Scan the QR code or visit our website, tgi.com.co. Good morning, I'm Karen Guzman, the Manager of Financing and Engagement with our stakeholders. Welcome to our conference of results of the first quarter of 2025. It is done in Spanish with simultaneous interpretation and it's being recorded. The results were published yesterday and are available for your consultation. Jorge Andres Henao will lead us, the General Leader and Manager of TGI. After TGI, we will move into your Q&A. You will move on with the Cálidda presentation. Now we invite you all to include your questions in the chat of the call. Indicate your name and the company that you represent. Now I give the floor to Jorge with the presentation of results. Good morning, Karen. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you. It's important to highlight that in the first quarter we have achieved better results in terms of EBITDA and income versus the figures that we had for this year in regard to budget. We have income of around 496 billion pesos. We have a variation in regards to the budget in 2.3%, but compared with 2024, we have a variation of minus 5.6% because we have fewer thermic generation compared, because the oil hydraulic generation in the country has had a higher balance, and that causes us to transport less gas. However, we have the extraordinary because of the parking versus the first trimester of 2024. Now we have an increase in higher amounts of 2 billion. In regard to EBITDA, we have a result of 170,000 billions, minus 10.7% versus 2024, and 4.9% above the budget for 2025. It's important to highlight that we have an increase of 32% of the fuel gas value that is caused by the increase because of scarcity. From the end of the year, with the beginning of the period of hiring of gas, we have an increase, a normal increase, because of personnel and staff expenses, but we have efficiencies in terms of reduction of staff, where we have the in terms of operational expenses and administrative costs. In the next slide, we show that we have a net profits in the first quarter of 93 billion pesos. This is plus 6.3% above the budget that we have for 2025. And even if we have a variation of 15% below 2024, these are results that are in line in regards to the forecast for the 2025. It's important to mention here that we have a reduction of 46.8 billion pesos. This is 30% of financial expenses, with a total financial expenses of 105 million pesos. And this because of the prepayment of the debt of 476 billions and a margin reduction of 83 basic points. This causes us to have a benefit of 472 billion. Therefore, the net profits 83 billion pesos. In the next slide, it's important for us because this is directly connected with the results that we expect for the second quarter of the year, which is the advent of income thanks to the approval of the price schedule. This is very advanced, and we have a resolution in the draft. 99% work directly with the respective authorities, and we expect that the sessions of CREG will take place this week and the next week. Therefore, our goal is the approval of the price schedule by the end of May. After that, there will be the process of effective application of that resolution with the resources, and that's why we expect to have those revenues connected to the resolution of price schedule that are around 40 billion pesos per month. As you can see it in the slide, we have made important progress in terms of regulations. Because of that, we have a new natural gas supply plan that was approved in January 2025, with possible projects for TGI or ECAP and 3 competitive projects that are highly interesting for the international gas transporter. We have the resolutions around the priority of the assignment of combustible gas and imported gas. Those are solutions that are aligned with our long-term plan with TGI. In the lower part of the slide, we mentioned the whole roadmap that we have been moving on during the first 4 months of this year, where thanks to the work and the resolution of the emission of the value of regulation stations or city gates have been done, and also the appointment of the new minister on March 3, 2025, with this huge goal that we have for the end of the year for the resolution of price schedule. We have that roadmap. And what I said at the beginning, we are expecting for the resolution of charges for the end of this month. In the next slide, we have basically, clearly mentioned the plan of supply that I just mentioned. In this new plan that was delayed by UGD through the ministry. Out of these projects that are important for TGI are those who are highlighted in dark blue. 4 of those have been assessed with technical details and engineering of factibility. We have important figures right there that allow us to review the option of participating in these projects. We're evaluating the next projects that still need to be validated. We have the technical team working here, and this is important because achieving these projects is fundamental for the development and to maintain the supply of gas throughout the country. And this is a huge responsibility for TGI. We hope to be up to the challenge, and the redeployment of gas in the Caribbean. TGI over the last two years have done studies of data acquisition and also technical studies that will allow for the progress and to bring on more actors analyzing projects that will enable us to bring imported gas that the country is going to need, while we can bolster the local gas resources. We are evaluating all of these 12 projects. Basically, there are some where we will end up in a competitive project, but basically the incumbent projects, the ones highlighted in dark blue, we are looking forward to participating in those projects. We expect TGI to be able to execute those projects. In point number 3, expansion projects under execution, I can let you know that we have moved forward in IPAD of the expansion of capacity in Mariquita Guarandai and Ramajamundi, 56% for both iPads. We expect to conclude the work and the operation of these new compression facilities in October this year. We have a team of execution of projects working there, and we're moving forward with this activity, which is highly important as part of our goals this year. In the next slide, next slide, please. That's where we have, and it's very important to mention as part of our objectives for this year, we have efficiencies to show both in OPEX execution as well as CAPEX execution, and they are based in energy efficiency, reduction of combustible gas, everything that is connected with operational costs, and additionally, the optimization of the maintenance strategy of rotatory equipment, and this is a reduction in expenses. We have a reduction in project execution and restructuring of costs for maintenance that we are putting in place, and that's why we have goals associated with 20 billion pesos of reduction in OPEX and 26 billion dollars of reduction in CAPEX. And this is associated with the work that the technical team is done. In regard to transformation pillar, we have an estimate, an objective of reduction of the 6.1 billions of reduction that is characterized by the implementation of quality tracking for transportation, the installment of the strategy optimization, and by AI we have the implementation of tools to use administrative processes, and in terms of technology infrastructure, this will enable us to reduce costs of this figure, 6.1 billion pesos. In the next slide, we show here a report of important facts in the pillar of sustainability. This is very important for the organization. We expect the future execution and the development plan of TGI is associated with sustainability. That's why we work decisively in all around this work. We can report that we have today 16 certified headquarters with energy efficiency with ISO, 89% of climate change adaptation plans, 3 educational institutions with implementation of guardians of diversity, and 42% of progress of the disability line plan. We expect the hiring of people with disabilities in a more inclusive manner. As of the second semester of this year, we have the first gasification agreement signed to impact 388 people in Miraflores, and we also have 5 suppliers enrolled in the first steps in CSR programs with Externado, and 3 completed actions for the plan defined for ESG of the supply chain. I am pleased to present these results that are aligned with the budget, and we have we move into Beatriz that will present the results, the details. Good morning, everybody. We are now moving with this presentation of results, and we will dive into the details of what happened in this quarter compared with the same quarter of last year. First of all, here on the left-hand side, we have a reduction of the hired amounts of firm capacity because in some remittance, the long-term contracts ended, and we saw the reduction of 29 million of cubic feet per day over the first quarter of 2025 compared to that of the 2024. This is a reduction of 4.4%. As Jorge just mentioned, especially because of the end of the El Nino phenomenon, we have a reduction of the volume transported of 473 million cubic feet. And that's those reductions, just as Jorge mentioned, and as they are presented in the results in the budget, were compensated, were offset by greater volumes hired by the remittance, and also some change of routes. That gave us greater income to offset the fall in the effective amounts hired and transported. Next. Now, when we take a look at what happened in the operational profitability, besides the increase that we have in the expenses, because of the increase in the costs to operate our compressors, and additionally in personnel expenses because of the collective conversion and the indexers that we had, the costs because of the increase in the minimum salary, minimum wage, and pressure and amortizations created a fall in operational profits, 59 billion pesos. But within that fall in operational profitability, it's important to mention one more thing that we have highlighted before in previous conferences, that we increase in 7 billion pesos provisions because of the difference in QA, which leave us to an accumulated in provisions of 100 billion pesos, and then we protect the contingency that we have. When we discount the depreciations, amortizations, and the differential of QA, we see an EBITDA fall of 45 billion pesos. This is to say we reach a margin of 75.7%, which is very positive, and we are above what we were expecting for this first quarter in terms of budget. And what makes it like a damper for net utility, operational profits, are the results that represented the financial component. And that's where the results come from because of the fall that Jorge mentioned. In the net, we have 45 billion net in financial expenses that derived from all the actions that we have put in place to reduce the spread and to reduce the prepayments that will reduce the charge of interest that we pay. Just as Jorge said, we prepaid 472 billion pesos, and we put in place active action with the financial system to achieve a significant reduction of the spread that we pay above what we call the club deal. Moving on, these are the indicators of leveraging and leverage and coverage of financial expenses. First of all, as you can see in the upper part, given the prepayments and the accelerated reduction that we have had in the balance of debt, we have a balance of around 3.2 billion pesos. The bond that we have out represents 72%, and the credit, the loans that we have with the financial sector, the Colombian financial sector, represent 27%, and this brings us to a rate of 12.6%. In the lower part, we have improved a lot. Specifically because of the accelerated prepayments that we've done. We have reduced the component of, for example, net debt versus EBITDA, and unlike that in the coverage of interests, we have a coverage that we are also moving up in the closing of last year, and it is around 3.5. These are indicators, very positive indicators at financial level. And with this, I leave you with this, and now we give the floor back to Karen. Thank you, Beatriz, and thanks to the TGI team. We don't have questions so far, but should you have questions, please include them in the chat of the call. We will move on with Cálidda, and at the end, we will answer the questions. We don't have anything in the chat yet. So we will move on with the presentation of Cálidda results. I am Meryl Villarreal, the mother of 4 children. I am part of the Cultural Center Yacisa of the Pachacute area in Ventanilla. I am Isabel Castillo, mother of 3. They call me Toyita. I am part of the Micaela Bastina soup kitchen. For many years we have worked with lots of love and dedication for the well-being of our community. One day we had this opportunity that we never thought we were going to be transforming what other people throw away. We didn't know initially about embroidery, but when this project started, we thought we were not going to be able to make it. We couldn't believe that how reused garments had a new service. And then we realized that we were throwing away so many things. I won't give up. I wouldn't give up, and I wouldn't let my friends give up. I wanted to use this opportunity to show that yes, we can. And that day, we realized we managed to do it. Iconography was a very important detail that we added, not just because it was a beautiful thing, but because we also include the value of our culture. This opportunity has been a relief that enables us to have income, and we also have abilities that will sustain our work in the future, and we are ready to continue working. This product brings the effort and the love of working women, empowered women in Huachipa and Ventanilla. We got together to bring value to our work, our culture, and the value of recycling. We're moving on with the presentation of results of Cálidda with Álvaro Rocaso, the financial manager of Cálidda. Good morning, Karen. Thank you all for joining this call. I want to talk about this quarter. First of all, about the quarter, we have arrived to 2 million clients in the segment of homes and all the productive sectors of the country.
Clientes lo conseguimos allá por el tercer trimestre del año 2020. Hito sin duda histórico que nos tomó aproximadamente 18 años de ardua labor. Menos de 5 años después, logramos nuestra conexión número 2 millones. Un hito muy relevante y que nos sitúa como una de las empresas de distribución de gas natural más grandes en la región. Por otro lado, el EBITDA, en términos analizados, últimos 12 meses, superando el $250 billones americanos, con un resultado de $251 millones en términos consolidados. Esto representa un crecimiento cercano a 6% y continuamos con el resultado obtenidos a fines del año pasado. Este crecimiento, como lo comentaré en breve, viene impulsado por un crecimiento de la demanda de gas natural en todos los segmentos, pero especialmente en el sector vehicular y el sector residencial. Y por último, en cuanto al proceso de negociación de extensión de la concesión en el cual nos encontramos, pues estamos en la tercera etapa y esperamos un desenlace de este proceso entre el tercer y cuarto trimestre de este año. Aquí es importante comentar que venimos trabajando muy de la mano con las distintas autoridades involucradas. Pasemos a la siguiente lámina, por favor.
Next slide, please.
Dentro de hechos resultados,
Among
el
these
anterior, por favor.
results, next please.
Dentro de hechos resultados, resultados relevantes, empezamos por comentar un volumen facturado. En el trimestre cerramos en 803 millones de pies cúbicos día. Este representa un incremento de poco más de 2% versus el trimestre anterior. Y esto apoyado principalmente por el volumen obtenido en el segmento residencial y vehicular. Entrando en detalle, tenemos un parque automotor total, la GNV, creciendo a más de 8% año a año, pero a nivel de consumo creciendo un 9%. Y entrando a mayor detalle, encontramos que, y alineados a lo que hemos venido comentando en
our strategy, we said we want to continue developing this segment, especially from the sector of heavy vehicles. We found that around 56% of this growth in active vehicles among trucks and buses, public buses. We closed this quarter in 32,000 connections, a little below of what we achieved last year, but this is in line with our maturity projects. We have reached 2 million clients, and we have added 166,000 new connections over the last 12 years. The networks, the distribution networks, around 119 kilometers by the end of the quarter, and we achieved a EBITDA of $64 million, 4% growth compared to the same period of last year. And in terms of gas deployment and the rating in AAA, that is very stable, and we will very soon receive an upgrade of the international grading agencies. Next, please. Other important relevant facts: the public hospital. We have a very large hospital. We're going to be benefiting many patients, and we would also achieve the avoiding a vision of 364 tons of CO2 in the year. In terms of vehicle stations, we connected two of these. This is important because this is a point of development that we have in the south of Lima. And these stations that we have there are around 1.3 million cubic meters per year. That would be around 10,000 homes per year. Moving into the details of what we achieved in the vehicle sector, in the heavy vehicles and light vehicles, these increased by 20% and 8% respectively. Two cases here in the Villa Salvador municipality, and Ancisa, a commercial partner. These are important companies in steel and cement. We transformed 30 of these units that are already consuming natural gas, vehicle natural gas, and they represent savings for these companies by $242 million a year. This could provide savings of $24,000 a year in fuel only. Now moving into the commercial performance, we see the evolution of factor volumes. After the effects of the season, 2%. More important, even more important, is the composition of that factor volume. 30% in volume to 4.1. This is important because as you see on the right-hand side, this is a segment that doesn't only include higher invoicing, but it'll help us in the other sectors. Competitivity, as you can see, is above 55% in all segments. This reality is not going to change in the short, mid, or long term, and even this is going to be impacted marginally. This is the billing for the end user. It doesn't include the component of distribution or the molecule. Here, the impact in billing and invoicing and the connectivity that we see that is very broad. That should not change negatively. Next, please. Now, with the commercial performance, we have added and we have authorized. In light blue, we see all the built networks by 2024. The dark blue, the ones for this year, and in gray are all the areas where we are involved with the potential for growth that we have. And this is the reality that I want to highlight when I say that the company is mature. The potential for growth is ever less, and if we can move forward, it's going to take more effort because of the far-off nature of these areas. At the end of the quarter, there is going to be 32,000 users. They are especially in the more vulnerable sectors of the country, and we started with 2 million clients. Now we have 88% of those are in those vulnerable sectors. The distribution system, as you can see, it ends in 260 kilometers by the end of the year, very stable, and this might continue falling in the next quarters. Next, please. As a result of the previous information, here we show the evolution of the EBITDA, $64 million for this quarter, first quarter of 2025. surmounting, and this 4% versus the first quarter of the last year. Here, the margin, adjusted margin, in the mid and long term, we will keep this objective. In the EBITDA, increase is translated in an increase of net profits, discounting taxes as well, which ensures the financial expenses that we have, in spite of the growth that we have had over the last few years. In terms of financing, we're closing in $942 million worth of debt. It's important to mention that over the next 3 years, especially next year, to this end, as we said previously, today we are negotiating a financing contract of $500 million. We hope to close it by the end of the third quarter of this year. On the right-hand side, financial ratios, EBITDA is rather controlled, and coverage of interest, if it's a little lower than previous quarters, because of the current issues that we have right now, we have very close levels. Next, please. Lastly, our perspective for the end of the year in terms of polypropylene networks. This will allow for the connection of 120 to 130,000 new users. EBITDA around between $250 and $255 million. And in leveraging a little higher because of the financing that we had initially, of levels up to 3.9 levels of EBITDA. That's my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer your questions. We have a question about TGI. Laura Noguera from TGI. In regard to TGI, could you give us a refresher on what is the approval of the charges with the price schedule? Does it have to do with those assets that finish their active life? Good morning, yes. This is an update of pricing that happens every time the price schedule changes. This happens every 5 years according to the law 142 of 1994. With the new resolution 135 of 2021 that corresponds to the new technology of transport, we are in a process of charge update that started in 22, where the regulator had the price schedule that contains the information, the updated information of investments and demand provisions. Also the investment for the ones that have ended their useful life. And just as Jorge said, we expect after the revision, the new proposal for transport charges for TGI in this month of May of 2025. Thank you, Luis Alfredo. We do not have any additional questions. Thank you very much for your questions and our teams of relation with the investor. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Impulsamos el desarrollo de Colombia, Perú, Brasil y Guatemala. Somos el motor de un sistema energético que avanza a toda marcha para mejorar vidas. En 2024 apostamos por el crecimiento de la infraestructura energética,
complemented with an investment, significant investment of the social initiatives in the regions that where we are, bolstering the regional progress. With to gas in Peru, we expand the use of natural gas and heavy transport, the poultry sector, and a new petrochemical plant of fertilizers. In Colombia, we Enlaza moves forward in the Proyecto Colector en Guajira, promoting the energetic transition with a sustainable future. Cantayac overcomes the challenges with Agromos constructing a substation and a new transmission line. Cálidda celebrates 20 years, bringing natural gas to over 8 million users in Peru. TGI in Colombia connects more families with sustainable natural gas, develops a biogas project with organic residues. Electrolunas will operate the thermoelectrical central in gas, strengthening the supply in Peru. In Guatemala, Conecta guarantees a reliable service with the energization of Modesto Mendes Station using last generation technology. In Brazil, we strengthen our presence through Argo, a strategic alliance with our partner Remedia, the Spanish electrical network. With over 2,700 collaborators and 128 years of history, we are committed with innovation and sustainability. In 2025, we will continue working with dedication, with the confidence of our interest groups, and building a legacy that transforms lives. The team Energy Bogota, the group is even better.